Hi, this is Bishop Review Tape for your Tanakh test taking place on Thursday, Erev Hanukkah. I believe the date is December 7th. Excuse me, I'm a little hoarse. You have to deal with it. And December 7th, of course, is Pearl Harbor Day, a day which will live in infamy, amongst other days. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is this sheet. And again, the first question on the test is going to be, what subjects does Moshe Rabbeinu deal with in Sefer Dvarim, and why? We said Sefer Dvarim is Moshe Rabbeinu's speech to Klal Yisrael 37 days before his death. He knows he's going to die, and there's going to be shifts from their life in the Midbar and the life in the desert to the life in Eretz Yisrael. And he wants to sort of like plan with them how you're going to go ahead and navigate these shifts. And so the mitzvot that are mentioned in Sefer Dvarim are there in order to help them navigate these shifts. And again, the topics which he speaks about, many of which have already been mentioned in Shemot, Vayikra, and Bamidbar, are also going to be repeated in Sefer Devarim. So number one is the way that they lived. In the Midbar, they lived in temporary housing. In Eretz Yisrael, they are living in regular houses. Because you have regular houses, what I'm interested in is number two, new mitzvot, makeh. When you have a house, you got to build a railing around the roof for safety. Hasagat gvul. When you have property, you can't go ahead and move the stones, the boundary stones, over a couple of meters in order to increase your property. Those are things that do not exist in the desert, exist in Eretz Yisrael. Okay, shkenim, your neighbors. In Midbar, it's all nice Jewish neighborhood. And if we come to Eretz Yisrael, is that you're going to be spread out all over the place. You're not just going to be together, and you're going to have some non-Jewish neighbors. Therefore, he mentions sakanat avodah zarah, avodah zarah, avodah zarah, avodah zarah. Got to watch out for it. Number three, parnasah, how you got your livelihood. There was man. Okay, they had sonu bakar as well. They had cattle as well. And also in Eretz Yisrael, you're going to have agriculture. And therefore, there are going to be all sorts of different mitzvot that have to do with agriculture in terms of the matzanot aniyim, the different parts of the field that you had to leave over for the ani. All of a sudden, you're going to have a difference in classes. Tzedakah is going to be important. Halva'ah, to give loans. All this in Midbar was irrelevant. Shmita ksafim, at the end of the 7th year, loans are canceled. Okay, next, mayim, water. In the Midbar, they have be'er miyam. In Devarim, in Eretz Yisrael, to live b'geshem. They need water, they need rain. And therefore, you find constantly that there are psukim talking about if you do the right thing, there will be rain. But Yom Shema is like that, because rain is like essential to the existence in Eretz Yisrael. Okay, bitachon, security. In the Midbar, it was nisi. It was miraculous. In Eretz Yisrael, you're going to have to go hanakat tivit. You're going to have to go according to the laws of nature, even though Plizgad Baruch is still very much on our side. And therefore, you're going to have all the laws dealing with Savah, all the laws dealing with the army and the structure of the army, and all sorts of things dealing with going ahead and fighting for Eretz Yisrael. Okay, next, Hanagat, leadership. Moshe was the guy in the Midbar. In Eretz Yisrael, first you had Yoshua, but then we have the various institutions of a king, of Melech, of the Kohen, of the Navi, of the prophet. And the Kohen is Dovi Berkowitz, by the way. And the Shofet is the judge. And therefore, you have all those different positions that are scoped out as Sefer Devarim. Next is Rikuz Pizur. In Midbar, you're all together in one place. Eretz Yisrael, you spread out, and therefore you're going to have to take some measure of responsibility, local batei dinim, on the Chaye Yom Yom, on the regular daily things that have to do with marriage and divorce, education, all sorts of things like that. All of a sudden, you have to go ahead and you have to be responsible. You need local court system. The last thing is how close you are to the spiritual center. In the Midbar, everybody was close to the Mishkan. In Eretz Yisrael, you're like really, really far away. And therefore, the mitzvot that bring you back to Yerushalayim, Aliyah L'Regel, Ma'aseh Sheni had to be eaten in Yerushalayim. Various korbanot had to be eaten in Yerushalayim. So all these things are part of what you're going to find in Sefer Devarim. Okay, that was fun. Okay, so now let's get rid of this. And okay, thank you. And now we're going to go to the first psukim. The first psukim that we're talking about is psukim of Shema Yisrael. hold on a second. What happened here? Okay, so we have the pasuk Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. Why don't I have it up on the screen? I want to be able to get this up on the screen. And here, right over. Sorry. Okay, Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. So this is the Rashi that I mentioned to you last time. Last time you were in class, and okay, let me just they're just seeing this. I'm sorry. In Tanakh 1. Okay, so here's the Rashi. Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. So the question is, if it's Hashem Echad, of course Hashem Elokeinu. It's one God, of course He's our God. What are the words Hashem Elokeinu add to the mix? He is our God. So Rashi says, Hashem Shu Elokeinu Atzah. Now He's our God. Not the God of the nations of the world, because they don't accept Him. Hu Atid Liot Hashem Echad. So, but in the future, it's going to be Hashem Echad. So right now, there's one God in this world. He's God of everybody. Right now, who accepts Him? We do. So Hashem Elokeinu. Our job is to make Him Hashem Echad. Is that to spread that idea across the entire world that there's one God, and that is Hashem Echad. Okay, that's first and foremost. Next thing that we learned over here. Now we got it together. So the first thing, mitzvah is ahavat Hashem, to love God. I say to go ahead and do the mitzvah from a sense of love, of opportunity, not just of a sense of obligation. Somebody who's doing the mitzvah out of a sense of love is way ahead. Someone that's doing it out of a sense of fear. And we said, how do you get to ahavat Hashem? Just by realizing all the things that God gives you. You can't just say, oh, love Hashem. Just say, okay, I can't say love Ben. You can't just love Ben. Why are you going to love Ben? Because you get to know him. And he gives things to you, and he takes care of you, does so many wonderful things to you. I love Ben. But so when I realize what Hashem does for me, then I can, then if I have to Hashem Elkecha, the love comes very naturally, the same way as for a parent. Okay, so how do you do it with Yetzer Hara? Yetzer Hara, there's certain things like jealousy, which is inherently something which is bad. Yet you can turn that same midah, that same attribute around to make it something good. I am so jealous of Roni's learning, of his wearing tzitzis every day. Whoa, I'm going to wear tzitzis every day. Okay. Sometimes you have to be willing to give up your life to God. And what is chol maldecha? With all your money. So the question is, wow, if we're going up the ladder here, and even v'chol hashacha, and even v'chol maldecha, it's out of order. Chol maldecha should come first, it's just money. And then it should be v'chol hashacha, even your life. So Rashi says, it quotes the Gemara that says, Yesh lecha adam shemamanach chaviv alav migufo, because there are people in this world, which is all of us at certain times, that we put our economic, monetary concerns before anything else. I'm going to take a phone call now, so we're going to stop this right over here. We're going to pause. Okay, let's continue on. The next thing I want you to know, let's find the right place here. Tanakh 3 here. Okay. Next pasuk. So the words that I really want you to know is the words hayom. Okay, this is the Rashi that you need to know. Only this. Asher anochim b'tzavacha hayom. What do you mean God told it to me today? God didn't tell me today. He told it to Moshe Rabbeinu around 3,000 years ago. What's Asher anochim b'tzavacha hayom? So Rashi says, Shalo yu beinecha k'yudugma yishana. It shouldn't be like an old notice. You have a notice. If Rav Borstein hangs up a notice in the classroom and it's been there for a long time, you just don't pay any attention to it. It's like it's just there. Ela kechadasha. Again, that hold on. Let me just get rid of that resh over here. That's an extra resh. Get rid of it. Ela kechadasha shakol ratzon l'kratzah. That it should be like a new notice goes up. If all of a sudden a person walks into the classroom, hangs up a new notice, everybody looks around, what's going on? What does it say? And everything else. So the mitzvot, even though we did tefillin yesterday, the mitzvot today should be brand new. This is not the same mitzvah as yesterday. Because yesterday I was younger, didn't understand this much. Different things happen in the world. Today, I'm a different person. I've changed in one day. And so the mitzvot are brand new. So everything is brand new every single day. And that's the way it's supposed to be. Okay, that's what I want you to know from this sheet. Okay, we can save this, get rid of it. Thank you. Okay, moving on. Go to the next sheet, which is Tanakh number 4. Okay, so here we concentrated very, very much on the psukim uksharta liot ayatecha vayulata tofot bein einecha. Okay, so we said that it's even though we call it tefillin, that actually comes from the Aramaic. That's what this is Targum Onkelos. It says the totafos l'tefillin bein einech, and that's where we get the whole world is tefillin, and that's why we say the bracha. We use that particular word. It says tefillin on the tefillin. Amatzvat tefillin. The other way of saying the word l'totafot, the English would tell you, means an ornament. L'totafot b'necha should be an ornament b'necha. Rashi says, interesting enough, elu tefillin shabarosh. L'totafot b'necha tefillin shabarosh. V'al shem minyan parshiotehem nikra totafot. The reason why it's called totafot because there are 4 parshiot. Tat v'katve shtayim. The word tat in the language of Katve means 2. Pat ba'afriki shtayim, and pat in African means shtayim is 2. So if we find words in other languages, since all languages have its roots in Lashon HaKodesh, especially all the languages in that part of the world, not talking about Latin necessarily, I don't know enough about it. And so we find in Katve that they use the word tat for shtayim. So apparently tat has an etymology of being 2. Pat in African is shtayim, so it has totafot is 2 plus 2. Those of you that are taking 5-point math know 2 plus 2 equals 4. Now we have the 4 parshiot in Tefillin. I'll write them out again. I've written them out many, many times. The 4 parshiot in Tefillin is, here, let's just do this right. Put this over here. And the first one is Kadesh Li Kol Bechor, which is written, which is part of the Sipur Yetziat Mitzrayim. Haya Ki Viacha, which is also part of Yetziat Mitzrayim. Shema Vahaya Im Shema. Those are the 4 parshiot to Tefillin. We said the difference between Rashi and Rabbeinu Tam's Tefillin. This is Rashi's Tefillin. Rabbeinu Tam's Tefillin. Vayam Shemo is number 3 and Shema is number 4. That's the switch. So between the two menagim. Okay, then we looked about mezuzot. So we said by mezuzah, the mitzvah is to be kovea mezuzah, is to put the mezuzah up in such a way that it's permanent in my house. Some of the things we learned about mezuzah is that here. So you go into your house, you go out of your house, you remember who you are. This is, you come into your house, this is a house that is guided by HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. Vayan Shemot Shmo Kabbalat Ol Torah, Kabbalat Ol Mitzvot. Oh, please remember that. Shema is Kabbalat Ol Torah, and Vayan Shema is Kabbalat Ol Mitzvot. Talk more about that later. And when you leave also, you should remember who you are. Now, so you come in and come out, you see the mezuzah. I would say mezuzot is ideally in Shlish Ha'alyon, is the top third of the door. The beginning of the top of the third of the door is where you put it. You don't put it all the way up high. We said if you have a very, very, very big door, you still put it within a place where people can see it. It doesn't have to be on the top third. If that happens, okay, mezuzot to put on the right-hand side of the way that you normally would go ahead, and you would normally go into your house. So we said that on the flip side of the mezuzah, you always have the letter shin daled yud, and many mezuzah covers also have the shin, but the mezuzah cover is totally extra. Here we're talking about on the cloth itself, on the parchment itself. On the other side, it says shin daled yud, which stands for Shomer Delatot Yisrael. The Kadosh Baruch Hu watches over the doorways of the Jewish people. So right over here, here's the cloth. On the other side, you see this is Shin Daled Yud right there. We also called it about Kuzu B'Muxus Kuzu. Maybe I'll ask that for extra credit. Okay. moving right along. Next sheet that we're going to do is sheet number 5. Okay, sheet number 5, what I'm interested in is Vayam Shemoah. Okay, so Vayam Shemoah, the difference between Vayam Shemoah and Shema, as we said a couple of minutes ago, we just, again, is Shema, Kabbalat, O, Malchut, Shemayim, acceptance of the yoke of heaven, acceptance of one God, and Vayam Shemoah is Kabbalat. Oh, accept upon myself doing the mitzvot. The other thing that you have in Vayam Shemoah, you also have the concept of schar va'onesh. That if I do the mitzvot, eventually I will be rewarded for it. And God forbid if I don't do the mitzvot, eventually I will be punished for it. So we see in Vayam Shemoah, that's what it seems to be all about. Let me just get the Tanakh over here for you so you can see it. And where did it go? Here it is. Okay. So we're going to go to Barim. And now we're going to Perek Yud Aleph. Perek. Okay, so look here. This is Vayam Shemoah. Just get the whole thing up over here. Here we go. Yeah, so in Pasuk Gimel, you see in Pasuk Yudalid, okay, you do the mitzvah, can get rain, right times. You'd be able to gather in your crops, in your vineyards, in your olives. And then in Pasuk Tetzayin, it says, watch out, because if you don't do the mitzvot, Pasuk Yizayim, God will be angry. That he's going to stop the rain, the skies, and there won't be any rain. And the land will not put forth its produce. So that's what Vayam Shemoah is all about, is the idea of schar va'onesh. So we did see a Rashi here in Vayam Shemoah, which is an important Rashi, which we talked about a lot. Vayam Shemoah, Rashi says, down over here, Im Shemoah b'yashan tishmu b'chadash. This is what I'm interested in you knowing. That if you listen to the old, you're going to listen to the new as well. Because Rashi was bothered. Why does it say Shemoah tishmu? The Kefal Lashon says it twice. Vayam tishmu. So he says Shemoah, that if a person listens to A, then he's going to also listen to B. And the converse is true. Vayam shachoach tishkach. If you start dropping one mitzvah, before you know it, you start dropping other mitzvahs. And so what we compared it to is the idea of mitzvah goreret mitzvah, shemitzvah goreret mitzvah, v'avera goreret avera. The one mitzvah drags with it the next mitzvah. I'm in a mitzvah mode, and I go ahead and where tzitzis, it's much more likely that I'm going to daven, and it's much more likely I'm going to wear tefillin. Right? One mitzvah brings upon another mitzvah. If I don't wear my tzitzis, it's much more likely that I also won't put on my tefillin. Doesn't mean it has to be that way, but one generally very, very much affects the other. Okay, that's what I wanted you to know from there. Okay, moving right along. We're up to so Tanakh 6. Yeah. Next thing we learned about was Birchat Hamazon. So we said in Birchat Hamazon, that what the Cheskuni says, and this is reverberated afterwards, the only thing you need to know from this is that we have the mitzvah. Let me just get the psukim up for you so you can see it. And here we go. This is in Devarim Perchet. We're not necessarily going in order. So we'll go to Devarim Perchet. Okay, I'll give you the whole parak here. Okay, so the pasuk says, "Ki Hashem elokachem b'v'yachal eretz tova." God is bringing us to beautiful land. Eretz nachlei mayim, the rivers, ayanot, springs, somot, and there's waters from underneath groundwater. Yotzim b'baka bahar, which come from the valley, which come from the mountain. Everything's great. Eretz Kita, Saravik, Efon, Tzedap, Rimon, Eretz Shemut Davash. Make sure you know that these are the seven species, right? Barley, wheat and barley, and Geffen grapes, Utzeina and figs, and Rimon and pomegranates, and Eretz Shemen and olives, and Davash Tamarim of dates. And so, whoa, what's going to happen is that everything's great. Everything's great. You forget God. Therefore, it says, that's why it's so important that after you eat and you satiated, not just to walk away from the table, but to remember that, hey, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the one that gave me all of this. And the Gemara learns from here, not only do you make a bracha achrona, but you also make a bracha rishona before you go ahead and before you partake. So here we went ahead and we analyzed benching a little bit. We said in the brachat hamazon there are 3 plus 1 brachot. There is a 3 plus 1 brachot because there are 3 brachot d'oraita. The brachot d'oraita means from the Torah. There are 3 brachot. Sorry for making it dizzy over there. Okay, and 1 d'Rabbanan. So you have the first 3 brachot of Hazan and Al Haaretz, the Al Hamazon, and Yerushalayim are all Min Torah. And the 4th one, that's Midrabanan, it's a bracha was called Hatov Hamitiv. Okay. How do we make a differentiation? Is that after you Yushalayim Amen. Okay, so we had this Amen, which like serves as a dividing point. We said, why did they add in the bracha Tov Hamitiv? It's not alluded to in the Torah. So we said it was commemorate the nace that happened after the Bar Kokhba rebellion was squelched by the Romans, that they murdered lots of people in Beitar, and yet the bodies did not rot. The people were able to come back afterwards, sometime afterwards, and were able to go ahead and see the bodies had not rotted, and they're able to bring them to a Jewish kvura. And we see how important that is today, Nebuch, with those bodies that are being held by Hamas, that the people know their loved ones have been died, but they haven't been able to bring them to proper burial. We said there's another bracha, which is called bracha achat me'ein shalosh, which is one bracha that has the 3 themes, actually the 4 themes, but the 3 d'oraita themes plus the Rabbanan theme of brachat hamazon, and that's what we call al hamichya. So he says, "Al hamichya v'akakalav and tzas tzedav eres chandot havar chava sharasitum chatzal avateno." It was that uvnei Yerushalayim b'arkosh v'yameno. All the themes that are in benching are said into one bracha after you eat one of the chamesh of the Shavat Minim, which was mentioned before. Excellent, excellent. Okay, the last thing we did. Let's see where we're up to over here. It's Tanachet. So right after the psukim of Brachat Hamazon comes the psukim of what's called Kochi Va'otzem Yadei. Because if you forget to do Brachat Hamazon, and you forget that it's God that's giving you all these things, then what's going to happen? You're going to become haughty and arrogant, and you're going to think that it's me, that everything is me, and that I'm smart and I'm able to. So if you look at Pasuk and Aleph, watch it, you don't forget God. And you're not going to keep the mitzvot. Because Pentachah you'll say, I'm eating, I'm satiated, I got what I need. Who needs God? And the Pasuk Yudal, V'ram levavecha, I'm going to be very haughty and arrogant. I'm going to forget that I was an Eved once upon a time, and that God took me out. That's history. That's old stuff. I don't have to remember anything. And the height of it comes in Pasuk Yazayin. You're going to say in your heart, it was my own strength. It was my own handiwork. That's how I got everything. And that is a disastrous path to go down to, that Moshe Rabbeinu is warning the Jewish people. And this is the famous words, that They say this about Sa'al all the time, before the Mechem Yom Kippurim, before the Shabbat Shchora. We got it done. We've got it all figured out. And not realizing and forgetting God. And that is a very, very big problem. And this is what you need to know for our test. Thank you very much, everybody.